Hey guys, welcome back to another TEKDEP repair video. In today's episode, we're going to be working on this Lenovo ThinkBook. This is a 15.6 inch model. We're going to be replacing the keyboard on this. As you can see, this one's been through quite some wear and tear over the years. Let's go ahead and get into the repair. So the very first thing we're going to do is flip the unit over and remove the Phillips head screws. Now we're going to go ahead and take a plastic pry and pry up the edges here to separate the top case from the bottom case. Alright, now that we're inside the unit, the very first thing we're going to do is go ahead and disconnect the battery. There we are. So now this unit is safe to work on and we can start tearing it down in order to replace the keyboard. So we're going to start by removing the battery, which is going to be held in by these 3 Phillips head screws. After which removing, you can then pull the battery out and set it aside. Next thing we're going to remove is going to be this 2.5 inch drive over here. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the SSD. We're going to go ahead and first unplug and then unscrew the Wi-Fi card. Which we're actually going to leave the Wi-Fi card screwed in for this because just to access the keyboard we can leave it plugged into the motherboard here. But now we're going to go around the board and unplug various connectors, starting with the right hand speaker connection, moving up to the LCD, coming down to the trackpad, one of the keyboard cables, I believe the backlighting, the actual keyboard cable itself, this connection that runs to the I/O board over here, the fan connector, the cooling fan, and we're going to continue on the left hand side here with these flex cables, but we're going to leave the BIOS speaker plugged in. Alright, that's everything unplugged. So now we're going to start by removing the cooling fan. Don't forget to unmanage the Wi-Fi antenna cables like that. Now we're going to go around the logic board, removing the screws that keep it secured to the top case. So now we can go ahead and pull out the logic board, which we actually will have to open the unit up just to separate the hinge a little bit. There we go. Now we can go ahead and remove it and set our logic board aside. So we do have to remove this left-hand I/O board here as well in order to access everything here. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew. Apparently one of the screws is missing, but we're going to unscrew one of the left-hand LCD hinge screws here, as well as this cover. And the one screw holding in the board now. So we do have to unfasten this screw as well. Now we can go ahead and open it a little bit more. There we go. And now we can go ahead and remove this I/O board. And just for safety purposes, we're going to go ahead and unplug and unfasten the cables running to this little board here. Peeling off this tape. We're now going to unfasten the cable that runs to the power button as well. So now we're going to go ahead and unfasten the actual physical power button here from the top case. Take a plastic spudger to pry it on out of there. So this is the physical button. And this is going to be the controller board here that we do have to remove from the old keyboard. There we are. So that's everything disassembled from here. We just have to remove some taped on covers. And one more cover right here just to remove. All right, so the next step, which we're going to show part of on camera, but not all of it because there's quite a lot of them. All of these little plastic rivets, you do either have to cut off, melt away, or drill out. My preferred method is just taking a soldering iron at about 150, 160, maybe 180 if these are a little bit stronger, and just melting that head off. And then once you do that to, unfortunately, every single one of these plastic rivets, which there are a bunch, you then can take off this rigidity plate here and access the keyboard to then replace it. So we'll show you a few of those, but not all of them. So for you guys at home that don't have a soldering iron, if you do, like I said, it's pretty easy. You put it at about 180, 150 on the low end and just swipe across. It'll pull the head right off. If you don't have a soldering iron, you could use a metal flat nose pry like this, or some of these wire snips here to just go ahead and cut the heads off of these little rivets. Like I said, you will have to do it for every single one of these. It does take quite a long time. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and we'll be right back with you guys. All right, so we're back after making all of these plastic rivets no longer hold this rigidity plate in here. So now we can go ahead and lift it out. We just move this right speaker here. And that's the rigidity plate. We can set that aside for now. Now we can see the keyboard. So all we have to do is just push this guy up. And that's our old keyboard, as you can see there. We're going to take our new one and lay it in place right after we clean all this up. All right, so we're going to take our new keyboard and lay it face down here. Now we're just going to push it down and make sure it clicks over all of the standoffs. And now we can take our rigidity plate and place it back down. There's two options here for when you place it down. You can either glue it in, which is what we're going to do with some B7000, or if you have some welding plastic, you can reattach it to the rivets here with more welding plastic. But today we're going to be using some adhesive. So we've got our adhesive on the bottom here. Going to make sure we line this up correctly here, starting from the top right, just like so. There we go. All right, so if you're using adhesive, what I would recommend doing is putting some clamps or something heavy on this to make sure that it adheres correctly and can cure for at least 30 minutes. Recommend at least an hour. Full curement is in 24 hours, but just to get a nice bond is at least 30 to an hour. So we're gonna let that happen and then we'll come back. All right, so after we've let that adhesive bond and adhere for a little while, we're gonna go ahead and first lay in our power button assembly here. So this is the physical switch that you press from the other side, as well as the daughter board here. And it lines up on the two screw points, and then it will come down like so. There we are. There we are. So there's two standoffs that it secures onto, two low posts. Make sure the black arms are also on those two posts, as long as the actual white section there. And then we're going to go ahead and take the actual connector, just like that, and take the two screws. It's going to hold this whole assembly there and secure these in. All right, we're going to open both the retention bars and plug in the respective cables. So the two cables we're going to be using right now, there's a longer one and a shorter one. The shorter one's going to go up top here. See if I can get this lined up. So this is the LED for the power button. Oops, and this is the actual power button connector here. All right, so now that those two are installed, we can take the I/O board on the left-hand side here, slot it in, and we can close our left LCD hinge, and we can lay this bracket on top of our USB port. And now take the 3 screws that secure this section of the I/O board and the bracket, as well as the 3 screws for the LCD hinge. And while we're here, and there isn't a whole lot going on, we are going to go ahead and route the Wi-Fi cables in their little grommets. And now we can go ahead and lay in the logic board, making sure we don't cover anything. There we are. So I'm going to start on this far section of the board. And now we're going to go ahead and close up our hinge. And secure these. So with our 2 LCD hinge screws secured, as well as the center one for the logic board, we're now going to go ahead and plug in the Wi-Fi antennas. There we are. We're going to place our little cover back down. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and plug in just a few cables. We're going to start with this LCD display connector on the right here. And we're going to go ahead and plug in the speaker on the right as well as the trackpad cable. So now we're going to peel off this protective adhesive, and we're going to stick the keyboard cable to this reinforcement plate, just like so. Peel this one off, as well as this one, and go ahead and secure the keyboard cable. Take the keyboard backlighting cable, and this guy's going to run kind of diagonal up into here. Take our I/O board daughter board cable, plug it in to the main board side, close it up, plug in our power button, plug in the LED for the power button. Now we're going to go ahead and lay in the cooling fan, but before we lay it in, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. There we go. So the Wi-Fi antenna cables do have to run in this little channel, which I'm going to do first. So I had to unplug the cooling fan cable first to get these routed, and then I can plug it back in. Now we can secure this cooling fan. Next thing we're going to do is install our SSD and the 2.5-inch drive. And finally, we're going to take our battery and slot this guy in. Alright, now we're going to plug our battery connector back in. Take our bottom case, slot it back on, make sure the speaker wire does not get caught. There we go. It's going to snap on and then screw in. So we're going to start with the front ones. Alright, and that will do it. So let's go ahead, flip it over, plug it in, turn it on, make sure everything's good. So we've got a charger here. Let's go ahead, plug it in and open it up and turn on the unit. Alright, a little hard for you guys to see, but there it is booting up. Let's just double check that the keys work. Trackpad works. The number pad is working. So everything looks good to go. We're going to double check the backlighting real quick. Looks like it came on to me. Alrighty. Thank you guys for watching. That's going to wrap up today's video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and with the help of the community, we will be sure to assist you. If you saw any parts or tools you need in the video, check us out at TEKDEP.com or click the link below for mail-in repairs. We'll see you guys in the next episode.